The Tuesday, March 1st, 2002 meeting of the Jasper City Council is called to order. We'll start with the invocation led by Brent McCarver and the Pledge of Allegiance by Ron Harris for the David Mount Eagle. Please rise.
Let's bow our heads. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for another day of life. We thank you for the opportunity to live in a nation where we can have meetings like this and representation like this. We just ask you bless the leadership of the city and these proceedings here today to be your will and what's done for the people. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If the council has had a chance to review the minutes of the last regular meeting on February 15th, is there a motion and a second that we approve those minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes. Kathy, are there any amendments to the agenda?
No, sir.
If there are no amendments, is there a motion and a second that we approve the agenda as written?
I'll make a motion.
And I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes. Number 5, present proclamation for Arbor Day. Mayor.
Council members, each year we approve the proclamation relating to Arbor Day, and I don't have to spend time talking about the importance of plants in our lives. You know, like you get past that in about 7th grade science, and but I don't think we have a recipient here today. But let me share with you the proclamation, and if there is, then we'll make a presentation and get pictures. Whereas in 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special day to be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed for the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can be a solution to combating climate change by reducing the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderating the temperature, cleaning the air, producing life-giving oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property value, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. Whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas the city of Jasper has been recognized as a tree city by the National Arbor Day Foundation and desires to continue its tree planting traditions. Now therefore, I, David P. O'Meara, Mayor of the city of Jasper, Alabama, do hereby proclaim March 1, 2022 as Arbor Day in the city of Jasper. And I urge all citizens to support Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Do we have a recipient? I don't think we do, but we'll make sure it gets in their hand, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 6, consider approval of event permits. Kaitlyn.
Good morning.
Morning.
I have 2 events to present to you today. The first one is a Cigar Box anniversary event on March the 10th. This will be from 6 to 9 right out here on 19th, and they want to block 4th Avenue, or they want to block 19th from 4th to 5th Avenue. And then the next one is a 5K. I provided you with a map of the route for that 5K. It'll be starting and ending at the natatorium on May 14th. Start at 9 and end about 10:30.
Any questions from the council for Kaitlyn on these events?
No.
If not, is there a motion and a second that we approve the events as presented by Kaitlyn?
I'll make a motion.
And I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And yes. Thank you, Kaitlyn.
Thank you.
Item number 7, consider request for permission to remove fuel services and on-call concrete. Derleda.
Good morning, council
Morning.
members. At this time, I would like to request permission to renew the following contracts at the same terms and pricing, excluding the fuel service with petroleum traders. They're actually offering to reduce the index by 0.05 which I think is great, especially with the current inflation rate. And the other is on-call concrete service with Suburban Concrete at the same terms and pricing.
You've heard Derleda's recommendation. Is there a motion and a second that we grant the request for permission to renew the contracts?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And yes.
Thank you, council members.
Thank you. Item number 8, Kathy.
Council members, I have 2 employees that will need to attend the Certified Municipal Revenues Officers Program that's going to be held in Tuscaloosa on April the 6th through the 8th. The funding is provided for in the budget that we currently have.
They couldn't go to Arbor. You've heard Kathy's request on item number 8. Is there a motion and a second that we approve the travel?
I'll make that motion.
Now second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And yes. Item number 9, Kathy.
And council members, this is training that is through the University of Alabama as well for municipal clerks. And this training will be held April 27th through the 29th. And this is something that I do plan on attending this particular session.
You've heard Kathy's request for travel. Again, is there a motion and a second that we have a motion
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
and a second? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And yes. Keep going, Kathy.
Thank you. The next item, council members, would be the introduction to a budget amendment that we talked about on Friday. And this really lays out a financial plan for the 3 major projects that the city will be involved in that we're receiving grant funds on. The total project cost for these 3 budgets is a little over $1 million to the city, but we are receiving about $3.1 million in grant funding. I'm not going to go in detail, but you have the detail in front of you. It provides the funding for the projects, but it also lays out the source of the funding from special revenue funds that the city also has money to help provide match when we do have an opportunity to receive grant funding. We also are laying out the financial plan for the 4 projects that we are about to receive warrant funds for tomorrow. We will be receiving $24.8 million in warrant proceeds, and it lays out the proposed funding for each one of those projects. In addition to that, we received a request from Keith Pike to provide some additional funding for removal of stumps along the airport road, and this funding I'm requesting you provide from the general fund. So this is an introduction at this time, and certainly open to any questions that you may have as we wait for the next council meeting for the approval.
Like you said, an introduction. I guess we didn't vote on the council member to the Alabama League.
No, we didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did miss that. I thought I missed one and I didn't see it. We do need to provide a document to the League of Municipalities that gives your consent for a council member to vote on items that the league may be presenting to the whole body. And at this time, we know Jennifer is going to attend, though some of the rest of you may decide to attend as well. But if the council members would nominate someone that we might be able to return the document back to the league so they can go ahead and be planning to prepare the documents for our representative.
So we need to name someone that, on the document, not just approve a council member, we have to put a name to it.
We do, and it has to be returned to the league.
I'll accept a name to go to the annual business meeting. I don't know who's going to
Mr.
those.
Chairman, I'd like to nominate Jennifer Smith. She's not here tonight.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Willie, I appreciate it. We have a motion and a second that we name Jennifer Smith, or authorize Jennifer Smith to vote at the Alabama League of Municipalities business meeting. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Kathy. Mayor, consider adoption of resolution to authorize the mayor into an agreement for the Chamber of Commerce.
Council members, I'd like to call on you for your favorable consideration of allowing me to enter into a permissive use agreement for an office space at the CHS building. Linda Lewis approached me some time ago with an interest in providing a very small incubator program to hopefully bring about a source of leadership training in our city, which we really need. This agreement would run for a year. There's no charge to the chamber. We have the space there, and then depending on how this incubation goes or whatever, there may be an opportunity for us to consider leasing space there. But the agreement has been drafted by our council, and I'd ask for your approval to allow me to sign that agreement.
You've heard the mayor's request for the resolution. Is there a motion and a second that we approve the mayor to enter into the agreement with the Chamber of Commerce?
I'll make that.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And yes. All right, Mayor, you got number 13 with same.
Council members, at our work session on Friday, we talked about a proposed agreement with Sane Engineering to move forward in planning for our major paving project. And one of the things that was discussed is what we know today is that the price of petroleum is ratcheting up significantly, and it may continue. And it gets to a level that might not make sense for us to proceed at this time. And so we asked council to look at the agreement, which he did, and the agreement provides for a break. It provides a break provision with 7 days notice. So if petroleum gets to a point or other issues that might arise that would cause it not to make sense to proceed at this time, then we can break. We've talked with the engineering company, they're fine with that, and it certainly makes sense. So what I'd like you to do is approve this resolution so we can get moving. This is going to be a major project. We get into the planning stages, and hopefully we won't be delayed by the cost of petroleum, and we can begin to pave streets across our city that need to be paved.
Thank you, Mayor. You've heard the mayor's request, and I know that was at the work session. Is there a motion and a second that we approve the mayor entering into an agreement with Sane Engineering?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And yes. Thank you, Mayor. Keith Pike, you've got the next bunch.
Good morning, Mr. Council President,
Morning.
members of the council. Item number 14, like you consider extending the time to abate a public nuisance located at 727 28th Street East. This is in District 5, and I think we discussed 60 days. Mr. Moore, is that correct?
That is correct. I do have one question.
Okay.
On the 60th day, it must be complete or in process.
That's really a question for the building inspector, but I'm sure he would want it completed.
Okay. I mean, I want to start out there on the 58th day, and we're working on it, because it's been a long time before we even
I'll get him to communicate to the property owner that needs to be completed on that day.
Okay, please do.
Does that meet with your satisfaction?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, is there a motion and a second that we grant the extended time for that property?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion?
Second.
And a second, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And yes. Item number 15, Keith.
Consider adoption of resolution for nuisance abatement of inoperative vehicles. This is located at 3304 Calumet Road. It's in District 5 as well. And that's all what I have today.
Okay. Is there a motion and a second that we approve the resolution for the inoperative vehicles?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And yes.
Item number 16, I'd like to introduce an ordinance rezoning a .38 acre plus or minus parcel of land located between 1308 and 1320 20th Street West from the R2 Single Family Residential Zoning District to the R3 Affordable Housing Zoning District for the purpose of placing a manufactured home. It's in District 5, and the public hearing will be held March 15th for this. Item number 17, introduce an ordinance rezoning 2 parcels of land located at 118 and 144 Highway 269 from the R5 Multifamily Dwelling Zoning District and the B1 Neighborhood Business Zoning Districts to the B3 Downtown Business Zoning District for the purpose of zoning the current use. It's in District 5 as well, and the public hearing will be March the 15th. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Mayor, any comments?
Council members, I have 3 things that I want to mention this morning. The first is I want to welcome Jennifer Colron to our meeting, and if you read today's paper, you'll see that Jennifer has been recognized as a new editor of the Daily Mountain Eagle. Jennifer's a Walker County native. I watched Jennifer for years, and I know she'll work, and I think she'll do a great job. So I hope you will take the opportunity today to welcome and congratulate her on her promotion. Second thing I want to mention to you is, and I touched on it in the paving matter, but had a leadership meeting here one day last week, and the subject was energy conservation. Always good when you have a meeting and the leadership kind of takes to heart what you have to say to them. The climate in this room today is evidence that energy conservation, because everybody got freaks dead. But if petroleum continues to ratchet up, and many believe that it will, we have several departments that are heavy users: street department, fire department, police department. That if it gets to $6 or $7 a gallon, I think the only smart thing that we could do would be to curtail some of the things that we do. What I told our leadership really is this: is I drive around this city, and as a casual observer, I see things to me that appear unnecessary, and we need to begin to work on that. It's the right thing to do, and because I really believe that we're on the cusp of having to manage through some challenging times. I saw this in my many years in the banking business. When the wallet gets thick, sometimes you kind of get oblivious to what's going on around you, and you get invincible, and that's when the castle starts to crumble. Fortunately, our wallet is pretty thick, and I say that from a position of gratitude, not boasting. But as we think about what we spend money on and that sort of thing, I think we have to keep that in the back of our mind. But I tell you how proud I am about our leadership group, that they went back, and I know this, you get a lot of good feedback, and started talking to their people about how we can begin to conserve energy. I know we have a road project out here on the west side of town. Really good creative thinking that we'll stockpile material in a way that our trucks that use a lot of fuel, won't have to make as many trips, that sort of thing. I know our police department, Chief Poe, has met with his folks. You know, we have a lot of cars on the road, and so I think that's something that we'll have some success at. We have to monitor as we go along, but that's an important point. But you know, nobody can spend money in the city but the council, and I call on you to keep that in the back of your mind. While we do have a very solid financial base, we don't need to be oblivious to the challenges that we're facing, and they're very real. The last thing I want to mention to you is this came just in recent days. Tomorrow, Keith Pike, Stefan Graber with Sane Engineer, and myself will travel to Fayette to the area office of Alabama Department of Transportation for the kickoff of the A-Trip 2 project out on Highway 118. And what we know from the information we received, we'll learn the timeline of that project, the contacts, the things that we can expect, and outside of that, I'm so pleased that we have an opportunity to go there, because it's an opportunity to further our efforts to build relationships with ALDOT. So important, because those folks can really help you. So I look forward to going there. I look forward to coming back and sharing with you what we learned there. But that project is real. That's about $1.9 million grant, and it will make that stretch of road a safer stretch of road, and I'm excited about that. So that's the things I want to share with you. Again, think about anytime we're spending money, is timing right, is a smart thing to do, and be thankful that the grant meal has been good to us, because it has been. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate you addressing the concern with the fuel costs.
Right. Good. So
It could be
again,
tough.
if it goes to 7,
Right.
we have to curtail, much like we did with COVID.
Thank you. Thank you. Receive any comments from the council members?
I would just like to make the announcement that the SISC softball crossover will be here next week, March 10th through the 12th. The team should be arriving on March the 9th. And while I still have breath in my body, I'd like to thank Brent McCarver for the efforts and the work that he's put forth to make this be a success, with the communication and all the things he's done to reach out to the community to make them well knowledgeable. Give his flowers while he's living.
And I agree, that's a big thing for the city. And then, Willie, I think we got to recognize President Willie of the Alabama Park and Rec Association. Isn't that right?
That is correct.
Congratulations. That's a big deal right there. That is a huge deal, and that's very impressive. Willie, thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments from the audience? If not, is there a motion and a second to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion
I'll second that one.
and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
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 And yes.